Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again live on this fine Monday for us to take your questions and answers. Before we get started there, I wanted to give everybody a little bit of time to log in. And for a fun little sprinkle, I was thinking today, wouldn't it be fun if we all shared our dog's nicknames? For my dog's name is Ed. He's also called Eddie, Ed the Head, Ed Weirdo, because he is kind of a strange guy. I'm trying to think if I had any other funny ones. Anyways, those are the funny little nicknames I have for my dog. And I just had that idea as I was listening to a podcast today where somebody was going off with all of the list of the embarrassing names that they had for their dog. So I thought that might be a fun, light way for us to start. So thank you to everybody who is here so far and watching. I always appreciate your watching, and if you say hello in the comments, I'll know you're there. It'll give me a heads up that I've got more people than just a little eyeball on my screen, which is really great. Okay, so today we are going to start with a really great question that came in from Frederick. So I'm going to pull it up here. Okay, so Frederick says, what is the best way to handle a stubborn pit? I give my boy Boris time out in the crate, but I don't want to use this a lot. I would rather that I get him to obey the commands when issued. For example, leave it, release, heel, etc. Hi, Fred. Thanks for joining us from Cincinnati. It is cold here too. So this must be, is this your question, Fred? So going off of what's here, so for examples with leave it, release, and heel, I would consider those to be impulse or obedience cues. When I'm working on things like that, I always want to think of, have I proofed this cue enough? Does my dog truly understand what this word is? And a lot of times we just assume that if they learn something like a sit or a leave it in the house, in the living room, where there's not very many distractions, that they're going to then be able to take this and do it outside too. Unfortunately, our dogs aren't good at generalizing these sort of things. What they are good at generalizing is scary stuff. So if a noise happened or a scary person with a hat on came up near them and something happened, they're going to generalize very quickly that that context is scary. But when it comes to us teaching them things such as leave it, don't be a dog and don't go for that thing you want, we really have to go through a really step-by-step plan to practice it in lots and lots of different contexts and setups so that we can say, hey, leave it means don't touch that thing, even when we're outside and we're walking and I'm behind you, even when you're 20 feet away from me, even when it's a delicious piece of steak. We really have to prove to them that it's worth it for them not to do what's natural for them, which is to be a scavenger and go for stuff. And to make it worth it for them, we have to make sure that we're paying them really well too. So, like I said, this is natural for them. If we were trying to teach our dogs something like dig, run towards birds, bark when you see something that's novel in your situation, they would be excellent at that. But we're trying to put in place some different sort of household rules, like don't just go for that stuff. So we have to understand that it's not natural for them and that we have to make it a step-by-step plan and worth it for them. So because I had just gotten Fred's question in an email just before it started, I downloaded my little motivation slide that I have. And so I wanted us to all look at this together. So a lot of times when I'm working with folks, they will say, oh, well, I've got all kinds of dog treats. They're fantastic. Why isn't my dog liking these? They're really expensive. Well, take a look at my little chart here, and you're going to see things like Cheerios, crunchy biscuits, kibble, Zooks, and then slowly we're getting up to more and more real, well, as people will say, human food, which heck, it's all food. It's just this, chicken or ham is not packaged and bought at the pet store. So if I want to ask my dog to leave some stinky half-eaten hamburger that somebody tossed on the sidewalk, I have to make it worth it for them with, say, a little bit of ham or Braunschweiger or cheese, that sort of thing, to really prove to them that it's worth it, in addition to making sure that I've trained them in that situation. So that's what I would suggest, Fred, for wanting to teach your dog. He's not stubborn. He's just not that motivated yet to do these things and may not quite understand it in the context that you're asking him to do those things. I hope that helps, Fred. If you need any sort of help on teaching something such as a Leave It, if you go to our YouTube channel, you will find step-by-step video samples of me teaching dogs Leave It from step 1 to step 10. So lots of different scenarios that you can practice with your dog in. Thank you for the question. Okay. So, Victoria shared, we call tank fish and chips. You don't know why. I don't know why either, but it's funny still. I love it. Okay, so let's go on to our next question. Okay, so Christy asks, wait, before we go to Christy here, since this was Fred, okay, I am a believer. Now I have to up his rewards. Thank you. You're welcome. I always also give the human analogy. There's a lot of things that I would do for $500 that I would not do for $5. So we also want to think of it like that. It's food, and the value of it is currency to them. So good. I'm so glad you're willing to go out there and find some motivation for your kid. Okay, so back to Christy. All right, so Christy asks how to train Come better. She's good 95% of the time, but I want guaranteed recall. Okay, so this is something I will kind of, similar to what Fred was asking about. It's like, I want my dog to do this, and I want him to, be able to do it without me having to repeat it and in lots of different contexts. So teaching Come, the fact that she's 95% of the time good is fantastic. You're never going to get 100% on behavior. I'm sorry to say, I wish that we could say, yes, you'll have 100% all the time, but you're just not. They're living, breathing animals. There's too many contexts and variables that you can't control. And we know for a fact as ourselves, there's not much that we can 100% guarantee about our own behavior. So what we want to do is we want to practice your Come in lots and lots of different contexts and make it lead to fabulous stuff. Making sure it's not a fun ender. So that can be a hard one because I want my dog to come in from the backyard. I want him to come and do this. I want him to come and do that. True. So what I like to do is I like to charge 2, maybe 3 different behaviors. One, if I want a solid coming when called, I am going to charge up and use that word and practice it in lots and lots of different contexts and never allow that to be a fun ender and protect that let gold. It is my emergency. My dog got out the front door and is running towards traffic. The leash broke, and then we're at the dog park, and something is going on at the end and I want them to come back. I don't want them to have to think, last time mom said come, she then put me inside and left to work for 8 hours. I think I'd rather go to check out what's going on, that squirrel across the street. So I have to think of it like that. So build up and super-proof your emergency coming when called so that you're going to get a better possibility that when you really need it, your dog's going to do it. Then for other situations, I like to think, okay, what do I want my dog to do? For example, coming in from the backyard. So I will simply teach my dog that. So I will teach them inside. They know exactly what the deal is. I will make sure that all food and rewards come from the inside, and I will practice it a ton so that it's no big deal, and I'm going to reward it for a really long time. And that's hard for a lot of people because they want to get their dog to learn it and then stop paying them for doing it. But we have to remember that going away from things like super good smells, critters that are outside, basking in the sun, we're competing with that and asking them to go inside and be bored potentially. So we have to make sure that we're getting this behavior really solid and paying them in some form or another after it's solid. If I want my dog to come to me just because, I might teach them a touch cue or hand targeting. That's going to get them to come to me, touch my hand. Then if I wanted to direct them inside or direct them to the bathtub or put their leash on, that sort of thing. So that's a nice easy one that I'll use as my informal, all around, every day, get my dog to come to me. So that is what I would suggest for you, Christy, with the recall or the come, to get to making it better. Separate out some different words that you want to use, and really that one that you want to be your emergency, you want it to be as close to 100% as possible. Protect that like gold. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that helps, and I hope Christy is either here watching or is going to be able to watch the recording. Okay. So we've actually got another one from Christy on a little bit different. So Christy says her pup is shy around humans she hasn't met before. How to make her comfy. This is great. I love that you're noticing this first off. It's not natural for us to understand body language right away. We commonly miss a lot of the lower level stuff that our dogs are saying that I'm uncomfortable and I would like more space. So fantastic, Christy. I love that you noticed that your dog is not completely comfortable. So the way that dogs learn are in two ways. They learn by actions, by doing, and the consequences of those actions. So that's more of the coming when called, leave it, that sort of thing. And then they learn by associations. So that's the area that we're going to want to focus on for your pup who is unsure of people that she has not met before. So I downloaded a couple different little slides. So first, this is called, it says, what's a CER? A CER is a conditioned emotional response. And what we want to do is we want to turn your puppy's negative, go away from me, into a yes, positive. And we don't want just this meh, so what? And I can't stress that enough, especially when puppy guardians are out and about and they're trying to socialize their puppy. I really want you to not just be saying, oh, my puppy was okay. He was fine. He didn't really notice it. Yeah, okay, I guess it's not bad. That's not negative. But wouldn't we rather that they love that thing? And how are we going to do that? So we're going to do, that's the wrong one. We're going to do that by, there we go, using classical conditioning. So, in order to get your dog to learn that people lead to good things, we have to make sure that things happen in the correct order of events. If you see a person coming and you start to crinkle your treat bag or your pouch and you start happy talking and your dog hasn't seen the person yet, and then out pops the person, they did not learn that that person was the predictor of good stuff. It was more at that point that your food was acting as a distraction and the person just happened to come along. So what we want instead is for your puppy to clearly see that stranger. Then you start, oh, what a good job, in giving food to pair the sight of that person with good stuff. And I want the food to be coming from you. That is an important part that frequently people will, with good intentions, say, here's some food, give my puppy some food. But what you're doing is you're creating this bit of a conflict where they want the food, it smells good, but this scary thing is holding it. So they will commonly kind of toggle back and forth, and then they'll maybe get up there and then they'll eat it. And then the person's like, oh, the puppy ate my food. Now I can start touching him all over. And then your puppy's like, whoa, space invaders. And they're going to run away and be scared or growl to say that they're uncomfortable that you just burst their space bubble. So rather than kind of, coaxing them up there with the food because you've given it to the person, the stranger, have all the food come from you. You stay a safe base. Allow your puppy to go up towards them if they're comfortable. If they're not, allow them to stay where they are or even, heck, get more space. And if at any point your puppy says, get the food out of my face, it is them saying they need more space now. They have bigger fish to fry than eating your chicken or your cheese. And at that moment in time, they're not going to learn anything. They're too busy trying to make themselves feel safe. So just take it as a note. Okay, this person, for whatever reason, take down all their, the characteristics. Were they carrying luggage behind them? Did they have an umbrella? Was it the big boots? Was it because a car just went by and scared your puppy and then they saw them? Take all of those different things into consideration and then go on the hunt to find some more people again. With the pandemic right now, I know we can only get so close with our puppies, but we can still practice at a distance. Practice people different shapes, sizes, colors, gaits, outfits. Really hammer it home, because socializing our dogs and having them not be fearful of strangers later in life is really, really hard. Not that we can't change how they feel, but right now when your dog is young and a puppy and they're still making those new neural connections, they're plastic little molds that we can really bang in there and get a bunch of good associations in there. But in order to get those good associations, you have to be doing it in that correct order of events. Okay. All right. So I hope that helps Chrissy with your puppy to help her to be more comfortable. And don't hesitate to reach out too. We're more than happy to help you create a plan and walk you through this so that you can pick out the different parameters that your puppy is finding tough. You can take video and we can help you. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have have a tough time with their puppies or adult dogs that are fearful of strangers? I would love to hear from you guys. That's one of the things that I personally specialize in, and it's honestly the reason I got into training. I adopted a hot mess of a dog that was absolutely my heart dog, Mary Lou. And I was not a trainer. I did not know what I was doing. I was reading books and taking advice from online and went to lots of different trainers, and none of it helped me. It was so frustrating. So it's what prompted me to go to school to learn how this works so I could learn how to help my dog. And now it's one of the things that I enjoy absolutely most is helping families to help their fearful dogs so they don't have to make all the mistakes that I did. Yeah. Let's see. We got a question from Fred. Can you change an aggressive dog behavior? He challenges everyone and everything. We certainly can. Yeah, it is. Let's see here. We've got another one from Fred. He is 1 year old and was trained as a protection dog by the wrong people. Yeah. So it's going to be tough for him, especially since, the majority of protection dog training and that sort of stuff is using aversives to teach them that people are scary and that they need to be told to get the heck away from them. So but we can change how they feel. A big part of it is first coming up with a really solid management plan. Figuring out what are the different things that my dog finds particularly scary? How far away do I need to be in order for my dog to feel comfortable? And food is one of those things you can use as a gauge if your dog is comfortable or not. Will my dog take food when I am 10 feet away from a person? Nope, he's too busy barking. Okay, I'm gonna go 20 feet away. Now can he take food? Now is he okay? I'm looking at body language to help me to be able to also tell how he's doing. Is he neutral? Is he tense, tight? All of those different things are gonna help me to find where my dog is comfortable. And then that's where we start. And then we slowly add in things that he doesn't find comfortable and teaching him that it's all okay and safe and actually leads to good things. But management is a very big part of it, and it will be throughout your dog's training. And even probably throughout his life, because there's only especially if he's had that history of not having good things happen when he's around people. So it takes a long time, but it can be done. Okay. Aw, Kurt. Allie says, Roxy is my hot mess of a dog that got me into training. I feel like almost all of us trainers have that dog that we were just like, oh my gosh, I need help. None of these books aren't enough. I need to learn how to do this. So yeah, I hear you on that. That was Mary Lou. And every time I thought that I had, all right, we got this fixed, then she went and got separation anxiety. And now I had to learn how to work with and fix separation anxiety. And boy, did I do everything wrong there too to start out with. So yeah, so it's can be a long road with our fearful anxiety and aggressive dogs, but we can get there. It's just a step-by-step slow process, and it's about going at their pace. Okay. Allie says, yep, sounds about right. Certainly does. Okay, so this is one I get asked a lot, and recently some private training clients that I'm working with, Sally and Tom, they said, how often should I be training my dog? So people are always relieved when I give them the answer. You do not need to be training your dog for hours every day. I honestly, dog trainers, majority of us don't even do that with our own dogs. And there's pretty good reasons for it. For one, it's actually better to train in short, what I call commercial break sessions. Why is because it keeps us more motivated to want to do it. We're not slogging away trying to find an hour, even 30 minutes in our calendar to say, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to train. Instead, if you have that treat pouch on, or you've got your treat pouch on a shelf, or I like to use my Talenti containers, and I put treats in there, and I'll place them different places where maybe I want to do some extra training, such as by the windows or something like that, so that it's always there for me, so that I can just go into an impromptu training session where I can do a couple repetitions of leave it. I can do a couple repetitions of touch and then be done, literally within a commercial break. And then I just, boop, all done, and then go back to doing what I was doing. What I love about this is it also helps to prepare our dogs for more real life contexts, because we're starting to help them to do it in lots of different situations. It's not just when mom straps on her treat pouch, excuse me, and she sits down on the couch and then cues me over and then we start training. It's, hey, at any point, mom could ask me to do this and she's got the goods to reward me for it. So I'm going to hedge my bets that it's worth it for me to do that. I also like the fact that, gosh, shoot, I just lost my train of thought. I'll go on. There was another one about the commercial breaks, but there's actually a study. There's been at least one study that I know of that's been done where they took that into account. And I was trying to find it real quick before we started the event. But if you go to Companion Animal Psychology, that's Zazie Todd's website, she is always going through and finding different bits of research and breaking it down for us that aren't always so like, ugh, I want to read this whole study that's 12 pages in 5-point font. She goes through and helps to summarize it and pick out the bits that are really helpful for us. Anyways, I did a quick search on her site and I found that they had done a study where they found that with the different groups of dogs that they set apart, that actually once a week was sufficient for the dogs to learn and to retain things. They had a couple different premises or ideas for why they thought that might be. One of them being that our dogs need time to process this, what is called rollover. So if you think of it like when you are learning something new, like when you were cramming for a test, when you're in high school or college, and you're reading, and you get so tired, and then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I can't remember anything that I was just studying. So it's better to take it into small bits as they go, rather than trying to cram in a whole bunch and then it's just like they're regurgitating what they can remember. So they're actually able to process it better. So that's one of the ideas. And then also harks to when I was doing in-person sessions and I was going to clients' homes once a week and training with their dogs to do the heavy lifting for them with day training. And the progress that these dogs would make was incredible. The big caveat is that the owners had to have management in place. So be that we're working with a dog that barks at other dogs on leash, to counter surfing, to jumping on guests when they arrive, you have to have management in place so the dogs don't continue rehearsing the behavior while you're teaching them an alternate one. So I love that one, Sally, and that Sally and Tom asked that. And thank you to Victoria for reminding me that I wanted to talk about that, because that one get asked so often, that people worry that they're not doing enough. And I think them worrying that they're not doing enough, it's a burden on them. And training with your dog should not be a burden. It should be something that you actually enjoy doing with your dog, because you're communicating with them and teaching them new skills and creating an even stronger bond. So it should be something that's fun. Okay. All right. So those are the big 3 questions that we had for today. So what I'm going to do, if we don't have any other questions that come in here, I am going to show you next Monday. So next Monday, we have Robin Rittmaster joining us to talk about skijoring and other dog harness sports. A lot of people, when I say that, are like, what the heck is skijoring? I don't know if it's because I live in Wisconsin, therefore I knew what it was right away and thought it was pretty cool. So I've got a little video teaser for you guys. And there really isn't much sound here other than the swishing. I think Robin's using probably a GoPro or something fancy with the speedometer at the top there. Doesn't that look like fun? Her dogs obviously enjoy it, and she's got some really great other videos and images of them just having a blast doing it. So she's going to talk about that with us to see if that's something you're interested in. And if it's the cold part that you don't like, she has got other harness sports that you can do this with your dogs. So it goes beyond this. It goes beyond sledding. There's all different kinds of cool things that we can do with our dogs. I know that's one of the things that people are always asking, like, what can I do to help my dog with both physical and mental exercise? And sometimes it takes a little bit of thinking out of the box and realizing there's actually a whole world of different things that we can do out there with our dogs. And skijoring is one of them, which is a really great thing that we're going to go over with Robin. So I'm really excited about this. Okay, so that is it for us today. Thank you again for joining, and please don't hesitate to reach out with us if you need help with your dog. We are here to help you. All right, thank you and good night.